Good Monday afternoon to you live from Daytona Beach, Florida, and the home of the Bethune-Cookman football team, Daytona Stadium. We bring you action in the 2022 Post-Grad Recruits Post-Grad Football All Star Game. And later on this afternoon, actually this evening, it'll be the National Post-Grad School Football Championships. Glad to have you along. My name is Tim Tyree. Alongside me is Memphis Spence.
Hey.
As we get you set for this action today. The All-Star Game divided into two squads. One squad is named Underrated. The other is named Exposure. This is the All-Star Game for the post-grad football level all across the country. The championship game later on this evening will be between Flight Academy out of Dayton, Ohio, and IMG Academy, which is down very close to here in Bradenton, Florida, at least about a 3.5, maybe 4-hour drive away from Daytona Beach. Very quickly here, we'll set the starting lineups as the coin flip is happening at midfield. For the team Underrated, their offensive line goes across the front like this. Good size by this team. The left tackle, Derwin Black, out of Florida, 6'6", 285. Their left guard would be Tyler O'Connor, 6'2", 250. Also, school here in Florida that he's going to, a post-grad school, but out of South Lyon High School in Michigan. The center will be Joe Lentine. The right guard is Tyler Michael, 6 foot 240, out of Union, New Jersey. And the right tackle for Underrated is Kevin Moore, 6'4", 225, out of Mississippi Prep, but a Memphis, Tennessee native.
I mean, if he's a Memphis, Tennessee native, he's going to show out out here. That's what we do.
Here are the skill positions. At quarterback, they'll go with Zach Wren to begin the game, 6'1", 200-pounder out of Phoenix, Arizona. The tailback will be Trent Johnson, 6 foot 185, out of Mississippi Prep, and his high school was in Slidell, Louisiana, Salmon High School. The wide receivers will be Kelton Young, a 5'10", 160-pounder out of Alabama. Also, Jeremiah Rodriguez out of Thomas Jefferson High School in Texas. Mission Tech Prep Academy was his prep school, 6'1", 185. And then the third wide receiver will be Wayne Allen, 6'1", 185, out of Showtime Prep in Maryland. He's a Delaware native. The tight end will be Bo Taylor, 6'4", 245, from right here in Florida. For Exposure, they will go this way. The offensive line, also good size. Tyler Nordman, 6'5", 295, out of Myrtle Beach Collegiate. The left guard is Javian Brookins, 5'7", 240-pounder, out of Augusta, Georgia. The center is Hunter Zwilling, 6'3", 260, out of Fort Myers, Florida. The right guard would be Keanthony Stringer, 6'3", 300-pounder, out of Georgia. And the right tackle will be Sebastian Lewis, 6'4", 275-pounder, out of Auburndale High School here in Florida. The quarterback, the starter for the team Exposure, will be Davion Palmer, 6'2", 180-pounder, out of Mississippi. The running back will be Jordan McInnes, a 5'10", 190-pounder, out of South Carolina. Greensboro is hometown. And the wide receivers, we'll start with Willie Brown, 5'11", 175, out of Georgia. An interesting one, Frederick Fjeldseth, 6'2", 205, out of Hoksund, Norway. And then also Dalton Yarrick, 6 foot 160, wide receiver out of Holtville High School in Alabama. And the tight end is Jalen Dobie Clark, a big 6'5 athlete. Those are your starting lineups. We'll come back for the kickoff in 2 minutes. This is the 2022 Post-Grad Recruits Post-Grad Football All-Star Game on Sports Radio America.
Frontier Fiber Optic Internet is so fast, it almost makes you feel sorry for your tired old cable. With Frontier, you can surf, stream, and game with upload speeds 25 times faster than cable for a great price and free activation. Frontier 500 meg is just $49.99 a month without a pay. You even get a $100 Visa reward card too. Don't let cable hold you back. Do what cable can. Frontier 500 meg internet. It's through profit for qualification.
Geico is easy, so you're free to ponder life's big questions. Like, is the word dictionary in the dictionary? If so, it probably says something like dictionary, noun. A dictionary is the word you are reading now on the pages they were printed on. Basically, this thing you are looking at right now that you're holding, reading words from, it's a dictionary. As in, hey, look at me. I'm holding a dictionary in my hands as I read the definition of dictionary. Yeah, it's probably something like that. Switch and save with Geico. It's easier than you think.
The new Personal Blender Oster Expert Series. Now with up to 2 horsepower.
You are listening to Sports Radio America. Sports, anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back to the 2022 Post-Grad Recruits Post-Grad Football All-Star Bowl game here at Daytona Stadium. Daytona, Florida. Jim Tyree, Memphis Spence getting ready for the start of this one. They do not have a kickoff as we go directly into offensive sets and the coin flip. So the underrated team is dressed in the white uniforms. You'll see them start with the football. Black uniforms, exposure. They'll be on defense first, then at the end of the half, they will flip sides of the field and who has the football first. So waiting for just a moment till everybody gets ready across the way. Coaches all coming across the field and should be starting momentarily from the 25-yard line. Quarterback for this underrated team, Zach Wren. Wren 6'1", 200. His post-grad program was Prestige Worldwide Academy this year. But he's from Phoenix, Arizona, went to Pinnacle High School out there. And the coach is telling me how strong this young man's arm is. It'll be interesting to watch him at the beginning of this game. Do they go to the air very quickly? Big running back there with Wren, and that's Johnson, Trent Johnson, 6 foot, 185, good size. And we'll see what Johnson does at the outset here, too.
Jim, this is going to be a really interesting game. I think there's going to be a lot more. These games are going to become more significant as we see NIL start pushing up, as we see the transfer portal getting up. There are going to be a lot more gray shirts, which is going to make it, these types of games more appealing for scouts and coaches to actually come out and see.
Well, we're ready to go, and Wren awaits the snap coming from his center, Lentine. And here we are underway. First play in this game. Wren will bootleg out to the right side. Wide open behind the defense is the wide receiver. And we may have a 75-yard touchdown play on the very first play of the game.
And this is team underrated? Well, I don't think so. A touchdown on the first play and as he shoots off his cannons. That was fantastic. The defense completely broke down. I don't know how you get that far open. Even in a zone, it seemed like the zone, there wasn't a safety on that side of the field. He was actually standing towards the middle of the field. Maybe they had a shift on or something.
Got caught looking in, I believe, expecting the running play. The catch made, I believe, by Malik Davis. There was a roster number change right before the game, and we think that might be Malik Davis, the wide receiver out of Wetumpka, Alabama. Not gotten confirmation yet. We do have somebody working on that. But if we have misidentified, we apologize. It'll be a 2-point conversion coming up here for team underrated after Wren throws the 75-yard touchdown pass on the first play of the game. Waiting the snap, sends Davis in motion, and will give the football to Davis. He tries to make the edge and can't, and the 2-point conversion is no good. So just 25 seconds into this one, and team underrated makes a statement with a 75-yard touchdown pass.
Yeah, I doubt if their name is actually, if they continue this, their name doesn't necessarily fit what they're capable of doing. And that's something important for you scouts and you coaches to know, that these guys out here, they may be a little bit underrated in your mind, but definitely not in theirs. They can make big plays, which we just saw.
So now it is Exposure's turn. Their quarterback coming out to lead this team, Davion Palmer, big, rangy, 6'2", 180 out of Mississippi Prep, will be in the shotgun to start. With him is his running back, McInnes. He'll turn, fake the handoff, going to throw right side, try to get it to the wide receiver that's out there, incomplete. Good coverage out there by Jamarian Richardson out of Georgia Storm Prep, knocking it away. The intended receiver was Willie Brown out of Georgia. Ball underthrown just a tad by Palmer and trying to make the adjustment, but good coverage all the way by Richardson.
Jim, if these guys keep playing, this team underrated is already impressing me, especially with how they're lining up and attacking their assignments so far.
We're 6-0 as we start this one here in Daytona. 2nd down and 10 coming up for Palmer, pardon me. Little blitz being shown here by underrated. They're going to bring it, and getting the pass off just as he got hit was Palmer, and nobody home out on the sideline on the right side. Little miscommunication, but bursting through the line that time and putting pressure on the quarterback for team underrated was Anthony Feldstad. Feldstad out of Isabella High School in Alabama. 6'2", 275.
He came through there like a Mack truck, Jim. Palmer's really getting that away was probably the best achievement that play could actually.
Just barely able to get the pass away before Feldstad really took him to the turf.
Yeah.
And that brings up 3rd and 10, 2 incompletions for Team Exposure, and it's 3rd and 10 now. 2 wide receivers to either side, and a running back on his left hip. Back to pass is Palmer. He's going to step up, look. Now he started to take off running, look behind him, and as he looked behind him, Feldstad came in and got him again, right at the 22-yard line.
Jim, that was. They're only blitzing 3. There's just only 3 men on the line.
And actually getting that was Anjani Jacobs out of Greenville, South Carolina. Went to Myrtle Beach Prep, 6'2", 220, coming from behind to take down the quarterback.
I mean, if you're blitzing, you should have had enough protection there at least to give him 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds.
I think if Palmer would have just made the decision to run right when he first did, he may have been able to get upfield a little bit, but the hesitation trying to look and see if a receiver was going to come open, and Jacobs able to come from behind, recover, and take him down. It's not a sack, as he was able to get 2 yards upfield, so a running play for the quarterback, Palmer. That brings up 4th down and 8, and a timeout called by Team Underrated. Not sure why they called the timeout. Maybe a personnel issue. Coach is out onto the field. And it's 4th down and 8 now for Team Exposure. Later on this evening, we'll have the 2022 Post-Grad Football Championship.
Looking forward to that.
National Championship between IMG Academy in Florida and Flight Academy in Dayton. Give you more as our pregame coverage for that tonight will begin at 5:45. And now, waiting to see what's going to happen, and it looks like Exposure is going to bring on the punting unit. And there is no return as it's just fielded, and then a bounce over the head of the return man, Kelton Young, and he had to go back and touch it up, so not the greatest field position to start this next drive for Underrated, as they're going to start at their own 17-yard line. Nice punt by Team Exposure.
That was interesting, how they go about safety when doing kickoffs. It's just a center, a kicker. And
61 yards on that punt.
Yeah, and a guy that has to stop that.
I mean, it's an automatic fair catch. He's not able to take off running, but
right.
You want to catch it just so
exactly
it doesn't get behind you.
Yeah. Complete field change. But you know something, for this team Underrated, I don't think that's going to matter that much.
We've seen Wren throw a touchdown pass on the very first play of the game of 75 yards to Malik Davis, and now here they go with their second. And a false start's going to be called against Team Underrated. Over there on that left side, somebody jumping.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Derwin Black, 6'6", 285.
Exposure probably got away with there was a lot of confusion on defense. Team Exposure, the linebackers looked like they were switching sides, and they probably got away with a freebie there with that false start. It looked like it may have been a bigger play for Underrated again, had they been able to snap that ball.
So the left tackle moves, and they go back 5 more. It's 1st and 15 from their own 12. Underrated puts Wren in the shotgun, the running back on his his right hip. 2 wideouts to the right side, 1 to the left.
Another false start.
And they've got an H-back over there on the left side, and somebody did jump as Wren was waiting for the play call. But somebody moved along the line, and they'll back them up 5 more. So now Wren, instead of getting the play call from the sideline, he's going to go over and just get it directly from the coaches as they now set in 1st and 20 from their own 7.
And that may be the most efficient way to do it. Now, you can't do that all game, but, in games like this, you're just trying to get your snap count down so you can get off a quality play.
Same formation, 2 to the right, 1 to the left, H-back over on the left side. Running back on the right hip. Breaking through the line, pass complete at the 12-yard line. Circling over toward the sideline is Corbin Hale. And Hale is able to get across the 20, get a lot of the penalty yards and some as he gets to the 20, I believe 3, maybe 4-yard line. It's going to be a gain of 17 on 1st and 20. That puts them in 2nd and 3, and a nice gain on 1st down, even though they had the 2 penalties.
And that block really set up that big gain. It was really only a 10-yard gain until you saw that block. And once that block was set, that's where the extra yardage came from.
See if they hand off this time to the big running back Johnson. Anxious to see him in a running play and how he handles the football. 2nd and 3. This is a wide out to the left, 2 to the right. They are going to give it to Johnson. He'll break through the line, get the 1st down, maybe another yard to the 28, and taken down as he got there by one of the linebackers. Coming up, Anthony Fuller, 6 foot, 220-pound linebacker, able to make the stop on Johnson. Johnson will come to the sideline now, and Wren will come over and get the play. They may go with an extra receiver here, but they do have a new set of downs to work with. 1st and 10 with 9:15 to go in the first. Team Underrated 6-0 right now over Team Exposure. This is the 2022 Post-Grad Recruits Post-Grad Football All Star Game. They have a new back into the game back there with Wren as Andrew Gordon, 5'10", 195-pounder, out of Prestige Worldwide Academy here in Florida. He'll go to the right hip this time. Wren brings a man in motion. It's Hale. Fakes the handoff. Now goes middle of the field. Slant pattern. Threw too low. And intended at the 35 for receiver Wayne Allen. And it's incomplete. And Allen had a corner over there draped all over him. And Keandre Griffin out of Carver High School, 5'9", 160. And it'll bring up 2nd and 10 after the incompletion and a whistle.
Team Exposure seems to be doing a little bit more jamming on the line. I don't think they want to repeat of that first play from scrimmage. Got to knock the wide receivers off of their route if you don't want somebody running that wide open down the field.
Whistle, the official waiting for the play clock to reset, but I think they're using the play clock with the field judge or the back judge 1 and not using the play clock that is on site here. 2nd and 10 coming up after the incompletion. 2 wideouts to either side. Wren puts a man behind him, fakes the handoff, gets pressure, steps up in the pocket, throws middle of the field, incomplete. Wanting to find his tight end who was cutting across the field at the 40-yard line, and big Bo Taylor, 6'4", 245, but threw outside of his range. And that time Wren got some pressure, had to step up in the pocket, and had to throw on the run.
Yeah, there's going to be the jamming that they're doing on the line of scrimmage is knocking the receivers off their mark just enough for that defense to get home. That defensive line, I want to really see what this defensive line can do. It looks like Team Underrated's defensive line only rushing 3s getting home. Let's see if Team Exposure can get home and get a couple of sacks here as well.
So the touchdown was not Malik Davis. I see Malik now into the game, so we'll have to figure out who number 1 is and pass that information along to you momentarily. 3rd and 10 coming up here for Wren as he has the same formation, goes back to throw, steps up, pressure, and he's going to be sacked.
There we are.
First one to get him is Brian Edwards, the big 6'4", 245-pound defensive lineman out of Baltimore, Maryland. And the sack takes him all the way back to the 21, and it's going to be punt time now for Team Underrated.
Long developing play, fly pattern. That jam actually knocked your receiver off the line, and that's how your defense gets home.
Some big boys down there on Exposure's defensive line, and they put an extra one in on that play and brought everybody up front, even sent a linebacker as well. Now the punt team comes on, and as we spoke of before, punter.
Just a punter, a kicker, and a let's stop it from rolling backwards guy.
And he'll kick this one high, short, taken at the 48 on Underrated side. The punter is Dawson Thompson out of Arlington, Texas. And the punt is only good for 26 yards.
Great opportunity here.
Great field position for Exposure on this drive. And I think that number 1 may have switched teams. I think we're talking about James Banks there. We'll double check just to make sure, but still waiting for confirmation from downstairs. Palmer ready to go, 1st and 10 in enemy territory. Started right, now left. The running back with a great cut, Jordan McInnes, and a good gain out across the 45 down to the 42.
Has a little jump stop in his giddy up, man. The misdirection actually held the linebacker there in his tracks.
That was a nice cut and a gain of 6 on the play. It'll bring up 2nd and 4 for Exposure. Stays in the shotgun, does Palmer. He sends 2 wide to either side. This time he's going to throw. Quick out to Fjeldseth, and Fjeldseth able to catch the football as he turned. He slipped and went down at the 36-yard line. Nonetheless, it's a first down. Sticks will move, and it's a gain of 6 yards on the pass. Fjeldseth had a nice block out there by the other receiver that had set up. He was the inside receiver to begin with. And I think that time on the block was Richard Winston. Nice block out there, big fella. I love to see wide receivers blocking on the outside. You can do so much with your offense.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a fake handoff, and now Palmer wants to try and run, but he's not going to get very far. May have gotten back to the line of scrimmage, able to come over and keep the quarterback contained. Dawson Thompson, the linebacker, who just punted a moment ago. And a nice tackle for no gain at the 36-yard line. It'll bring up 2nd and 10.
To your point, Jim, if you have a wide receiver, especially out on the sideline blocking, that's usually where you pick up a lot of yards after catch. You just need one key block and to duck behind that block, and you can usually pick up 5-10 yards if that block is efficient without holding.
5:15 to play in the first quarter. It's 6-0 Underrated, but Exposure in enemy territory at the Underrated 36-yard line. 2nd and 10. Palmer awaits the snap, going to throw. Complete over to the right side, able to hit Winston, and Winston is knocked out of bounds. I'm not sure he got anything. Let's see where they give him. No, he got to the line of scrimmage, and that was it. On the quick out to the receiver moving out of the H-back position on the right side to the 36 is all he gets, and it's 3rd and 10.
They set up in trips formation out there, and I was interested to see exactly what Team Underrated would do to that. They had a little zone on. And they each picked up a man and ran basically to those guys once the ball was snapped. But it looks like it's disguised.
Thompson over there on the tackle, as well as a couple of other teammates. Corner came over and helped out. 3rd and 10. Palmer awaits a shotgun snap, gets it, looks down the field. He's got time, now scrambling out of the pocket across the middle. Made a catch and then dropped it. Oh, my goodness. What a catch that would have been by Fjeldseth, Frederick Fjeldseth. The defensive back in front of him, which may have been a linebacker, actually tipped the football. Fjeldseth then tipped it, and I thought he pulled it in, but as he fell forward, could not bring it into his chest, and that's going to bring up 4th down and 10, and it looks like Team Exposure is going to go for it from the 36 of underrated.
Are there field goals? Do we kick field goals to this, or are they going to?
I would assume you can. I don't think
they're not in range, though.
Either team has an actual kicker listed on the roster, so they'll go for it on 4th and 10. Palmer, time to throw, middle of the field, picked off at the 14-yard line. And making the pick was Aiden Consol out of Hilton, New York, 5'11", 180-pounder, and he'll get a return all the way up across the 35 to the 40-yard line, and that's where Team Underrated will take over on their next drive. Somebody lost their helmet out there.
There had to be a mix-up in what route was running because the receiver never really turned around and looked for the ball when that was in the air. I can't. The only person that actually knew where the ball was going to be, it appeared, was the safety there. So that was a very interesting pass.
It looked
maybe a little bit of mix-up.
It looked to be Willie Brown out of the slot on the left side. Could have been Tayon Kane. But nonetheless, Consol will get the interception and a return of, looks like 19 on the interception to take it to the 40-yard line. And here we go with a new quarterback into the game, Jake Hockey. Hockey, 6'3", 175-pounder out of Spanish Fork High School in Utah. His post-grad program is Bonneville Football Academy. He hands off to the running back and not able to get very much. Actually lost a half a yard. They're going to put it back at the 39, loss of a full yard on the running play up the middle. Running back in the backfield is Andrew Gordon. So a new quarterback. Hockey gets a chance to shine. Here's a pitch out, right side. Gordon gets the edge, 45, 46, and taken down there, helmeted down by James Banks, the defensive back for Team Exposure. It's a nice gain of 6, but it'll bring up 3rd and 4. So early on, some of the outside running plays are working, but trying to find running room in the middle, it's not there.
Well, I tell you what, the middle of this defense looks pretty sound right now. A lot of gap integrity, stuff that you actually would practice on a team for a long time to actually pull off. It's looking pretty solid out there, though.
2.5 minutes left to go here in the first period. Underrated facing 3rd and 4. They lead 6-0 over Exposure. Hockey gets the snap, throws left side, making the catch, then getting to the outside is Young, but he's not going to find any running room. Swarming to the football is Team Exposure's secondary and linebackers, and they do not allow Young to get the edge or cut back up in. He's going to lose 2 yards on the play, and it's going to bring up 4th and 6.
I think this Team Exposure got embarrassed on that first play, and everybody's playing really sound defense right now. The linebacker was his ability to actually keep his man in bounds, to actually be able to stop him from getting to that sideline, allowed for his other teammates to actually swarm that ball.
They'll go for it on 4th and 6 and not punt the football, as Team Exposure has not been able to move on offense very easily. So take their chances on 4th and 6, and they got Team Exposure pulled offsides. Flag is out. Or are they? No. They're going to say that they had a chance to get back across because Underrated did not snap the football.
So is this a...
They picked up the flag. And now a timeout is going to be called by Team Underrated. They thought they had them pulled off sides. The official said no, they had a chance to get back across the line. And the flag was picked up, and it's going to be 4th and 6. And the timeout comes with 1:11 left to go here in the first. 6-0. Team Underrated over Team Exposure. We'll keep it right here because I don't think they'll use the full minute here. I think Team Underrated just trying to get what they wanted to do. Their plan when they came out there on 4th down was to try and pull them off sides.
And they look like they succeeded, Jim. I'm still wondering if they actually got back on sides before that ball was snapped. to my eye, from this viewpoint, they did not. But the officials, they're on top of it. They see something different, and I'm not sure if there's instant replay to prove them wrong.
The only scoring play, Zach Wren, the quarterback for underrated, a 75-yard touchdown pass to start the game. First play of the game. 4th and 6. Here's Hockey. Hockey will roll out to the right side, fake a throw, now try to run for it, doesn't get it. 47-yard line is all he got. He got 3, but he needed 6. So that will turn the ball over, and Exposure now will go out on the field and start from scrimmage at the opponent's 47-yard line.
It's going to be interesting. What's your 1-minute drill right now from the 50? You have enough time to pull this off. You need 3 key plays and then a couple of shots into the end zone. Let's see what they have. Let's see what Team Exposure's doing.
So they'll come to the football. Looks like they're staying with Palmer right now at quarterback. And at running back, McInnes.
4 wide.
2 wide to either side. In motion goes Kane. They hand him the football. Cuts back inside. Now to the outside. And will only get about 3. He ran about 100 yards to get 3 up to the 44-yard line.
That play looked like it was breaking down, and he just made the best out of it. I'm not sure if that was supposed to be a pitch, but it didn't look like the play.
Little jet sweep, yeah. It was, as you said, long developing and starting to break down, and he just
decided to take it upfield.
He did a good job of just getting the football into a positive situation and picking up the 3 yards. 2nd and 7 from the 44 of underrated. And they are going with the 2 wide to either side each play now. Handoff. And able to get across the 40 to the 36. Another extra push to the 34-yard line. Nice running play off the left edge as a new running back into the game, Marcus Tollfree. Tollfree out of Wichita, Kansas.
That'll be it.
5'8", 169-pounder. He gets the first down, and if I'm not mistaken, that is only the 2nd first down of the game for Team Exposure.
Looks like that's the end of the game.
That'll end the quarter. As we move to the 2nd, it's 6-0. Underrated on top of Exposure in the 2022 Post-Grad Recruits Football All Star Game. This is Sports Radio America.
Peacock is streaming your favorite shows, movies, live sports, breaking news, exclusive originals, and every live WWE pay-per-view. It's The Office, Chris Lee Knows Best, and Peacock original shows like Punky Brewster. Peacock, watch for free, upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com.
You are listening to Sports Radio America. Sports, anytime, anywhere.
First play from scrimmage, 2nd period, and a handoff as going under center for the first time in the game was quarterback Palmer. Turned around and gave it to Tollfree again. Tollfree off left tackle hip. Able to get up to the 30-yard line, gain of 4, and it'll bring up 2nd and 6. And a timeout called now by Exposure as he wants, coach of Exposure wanting to get the team over there very quickly and get their calls ready. We'll keep it right here. 14:36 left to go in the 2nd period. 6-0. Exposure behind as the very first play of the game, a 75-yard touchdown pass from the quarterback, Zach Wren. And we're still trying to get the correct name and number for the receiver who caught it. We don't have his information. Number 1 in the uniform, able to make the catch. And He got behind the defense, able to sprint his way to the end zone after making the catch on the underthrown ball.
But, you know, that seemed to be the only breakdown in defense that we've kind of seen from that team. I mean, team underrated just decided to take advantage of the situation on that first play and caught team exposure off guard.
Palmer's going to throw on second down and underthrows his receiver out on the left side. That was Fjeldseth. Fjeldseth had a little spot there that he got a block on the inside receiver and could have maybe got up close to the first down, but quarterback not able to get enough on that as he felt pressure in the backfield. Palmer getting rid of it quickly.
I'll say this. The defensive lines for both of these squads look pretty solid. It's either that or the offensive lines haven't been able to work together enough to be able to hold the line.
So 3rd and 6 coming up now from the 30 of underrated exposure. And we have seen them already try on 1 4th down. Didn't get it. I would assume that they'll go for it again if they don't get it here on 3rd. 3rd and 6. Snap. Fake the handoff. Pump fake. And now Palmer, a receiver behind the defense, coming back to knock it away. The intended receiver was Willie Brown, but a nice job of recovering and knocking the pass away at the last moment by the defensive back. And I'm waiting for him to turn here. It's Barryon Schuler out of Sam Houston High School. Played his prep year at Oklahoma Wildcats Prep.
And he's a showman as well. He's a showman. Said, don't send that my way.
The receiver, Brown, had gotten behind the defense, was wide open, but the ball severely underthrown, which allowed Brown to come up and be able to make a play after recovering. Hit him right in the back of the head. 4th down and 6 from the 30. Got to get to the 24, and exposure will go for it. Looking to throw is Palmer. Out of the pocket, he's sacked. And the ball comes free, and I think they're going to call it a fumble. They are. Palmer got rid of the ball and fumbled it. So instead of just taking the sack, almost a turnover, all the way back to the 42-yard line, loss of 12 on the play. And here's where underrated gets good field position because of the good defensive play.
Yeah, that sack on 4th down, turnover on downs. But the fumble itself, may have put him back a couple more yards as well.
Pin their ears back, coming on 3rd and 6, thinking that Palmer would probably throw the football and able to get to him. So the 42-yard line, that's where underrated will now start with their possession, leading 6-0. We've played a minute and a half of the second quarter. Beautiful in December, Daytona, Florida.
Glad you could join me down here, Jim.
Oh, man.
Need to come down here a little bit more. That's why I'm down here now.
No kidding. Weather perfect. Nice cool afternoon, 78 degrees. Here's a pitch out to the left side as Hockey stays in at quarterback and just tried to pitch it out to Trent Johnson. Johnson able to get a couple before he shut down up to the 44.
There hasn't been much movement of the football on 1st down for team underrated except for that first drive.
Which was basically a broken defensive scheme.
Yeah.
2nd and 8. Hockey will send one receiver in motion in Rodriguez. Low snap, picks it up, trying to make something happen. Out of nothing, he's going to lose yardage. If he would have just went forward when he first picked up the football, he would have got something. But Brandon Domer, the linebacker out of Legend, Colorado, was able to get to him, bring him down by the jersey. A loss all the way back to the 41. And it'll be 3rd and 11 now after the 3-yard loss. Not sure they'll count that as a sack as the quarterback was trying to make a running play out of it after the low snap. So 3rd and 11 coming up for underrated. We may not see another score in this game. Defense starting to really make their footprint known to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Snap, fumbled again. Hockey, sacked. not able to get anywhere.
Yeah.
All the way back at the 30-yard line.
In these type of games, Jim, and we do a lot of all-star games, in these type of games, it's important for both sides to be working together, but it's definitely important for the offense. The center to quarterback, that motion, people take it for granted. But, being under center or in shotgun, that has to be solid for that play to work. We've seen twice now, back-to-back, where it hasn't worked out for team underrated, and that's just a lack of practice.
Give the credit of the sack to Aiden Morgan. Big defensive lineman, 6'4", 260. First one back there to make sure Hockey couldn't go anywhere. And the punt now coming from Dawson Thompson. He'll spin the football, kick it straight up the elevator shaft, and shanked it over to the right side, and that's going to be a very short punt. Where did it go out? The 45-yard line.
Woo.
So a 15-yard punt for Thompson, and Exposure gets great field position once again after their defense gets negative running play and then a sack on the quarterback, Hockey, of underrated.
Team Exposure has been playing on their own half of or the other half of the field. They've got to punch one in here, Jim. They've gotten plenty of opportunities.
So they'll stay with Palmer at the quarterback position for Exposure. Little jet sweep touch pass here. And able to get up the field is Tayon Kane out of Newtown, Maryland. And Kane, a nice gain on first down. It's going to set up second and short, 2nd and 3. A little jet sweep, but he cut it back inside at the hash, Spence.
Yeah, the blocks that are going on right now are pretty solid. But the integrity of this defense, both defenses really, to be able to hold people inside and not let them get outside of their defense, that's what's keeping this game to a one-score game right now.
See if they go back to a running play here. The running back is McInnes, right side of the quarterback, Palmer, and they'll give it to him. Left edge, running room. Gets across the 30 up to the 28. He's taken down by the linebacker Kevin Moore. Actually, the defensive lineman Kevin Moore out of Memphis, Tennessee. Played his prep school ball at Mississippi Prep. It does move the sticks, though. Just the second first down of the day for
the left tackle
Exposure.
For Team Exposure. He had such a good block on that. That's why that off-tackle play worked.
I'll have to double-check that for you here in just a minute. Here's a running play that's not going to get anywhere. As a matter of fact, he's going to lose a yard as Palmer gave it once again to McInnes, and team underrated waiting for McInnes to get the football that time all the way back to the 29. It'll be 2nd and 11. At left tackle's Tyler Nordman.
Tyler, good job, man.
6'5", 295-pounder.
Solid, got inside the pads, kicked his man out, off tackle, worked perfectly.
I was down on the field for a moment before the game, and Nordman just towers over you at 6'5". 2nd and 11 coming up for Palmer and Exposure here. This time the snap in his hands across the middle and knocked away. Good play by the linebacker playing zone in the middle of the field. Sean Maxwell out of Montgomery, Alabama. 6'2", 220-pounder, just sitting in a zone in the flat. Stuck his paw up and got a good pass break up there.
Fantastic athleticism. You wanted to see a middle linebacker or somebody playing star with the ability to actually climb the ladder and knock those passes down. That's definitely necessary going into the next level into college.
He was not assigned a receiver there. The receiver was coming across the middle. He just happened to be in the area. So now 3 receivers over to the left side for Exposure on 3rd and 11. Palmer with a new running back with him in Tolfree, but instead going to throw. Arm pump, now throws down the field, looking, and I believe a jump ball up here at the 7-yard line. I thought there was a receiver on the left side that was pushed down.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be some pass interference there.
That was Hale. Or check that. No, I'm sorry. Yarrick. Dalton Yarrick, 6', 160-pounder out of Alabama, who was over on the left side down the sideline. Got pushed down, but I don't think an official saw it.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a timeout here.
So with 8:33 left to go here in the second, 6-0 underrated with the lead. Defense is starting to take over. It's 4th and 11 for Exposure, and they will probably go for it.
You would think.
So Palmer on 4th and 11 will go for it. Waiting the snap. Movement up front and a flag. They're going to stop everything. That may have been an offsides on the defense. Coming across the line and touching up the center that time for Team Exposure was Anjani Jacobs.
Getting positive yards any way you can.
Check that. I'm sorry. Derwin Black coming across the line and getting the penalty for offsides. It won't be enough for a first down, but it does make it more manageable down to the 24, and where that will be 4th and 6 instead of 4th and 11. Now your playbook's a little bit more wide open. And Palmer awaits the snap. Shotgun snap comes to him. Time to throw across the middle. Tipped and then caught by Johnson. Or check that. No, Brown. Willie Brown makes the catch and gets enough for the first down. He was coming across the middle from right to left. Tapped it. It went up in the air. Able to regain control and then make his way to the sideline where he steps out at around the 15-yard line. But a flag down back in the backfield. And something tells me this is going to come back.
Yeah, it looked like holding to me, Jim. The team didn't really have enough time. Team Exposure hasn't really had enough time to get off any deep passes. I think some of the offensive linemen are starting to get frustrated with that. And when you get frustrated on the offensive line, sometimes you hold. Sometimes you're just trying to give enough time for your quarterback to get that play off, and sometimes you make that mistake.
So here is the call. It's a personal foul against Team Exposure. Now, they got to the 15. They picked up the first down. Here's where it gets weird. They have to go back to the 30 for the penalty of 15 yards, and now it's 1st and 10 from the 30. So they didn't make up a lot of ground, and they do get a first down after the result of the play will stand. And another flag and a whistle. And then more movement up front. Is it going to be offside or is it going to be a false start? And the official says a substitution infraction against Team Exposure. So instead of 1st and 10, it'll be 1st and 15.
Seems like every time they do something right, they take one step forward and a few steps back.
8 minutes even left to go here in the second period. 6-0 underrated. And now Exposure trying to get a playoff, and they will. Handoff to the running back off the right edge, and he'll pick up a few yards. As that time it was Toll-Free taking the handoff. He'll get 2 up to the 33. They had a different running back in there, and now they have to switch the running back out. They put an extra receiver in, does Exposure. 2 wideouts to either side. Toll-Free still in the backfield with Palmer.
Let's see if this line can block
2nd and 13.
This pass.
Defensive backs back up. Pressure over the middle.
Again.
Picked off at the 17-yard line. This time the pickoff is by Barryon Schuler, and he's going to get up the sideline all the way across the 40-yard line to the 43 before he's knocked out of bounds. Barryon Schuler So that's the second time Palmer's been intercepted in this game.
Yeah, that offensive line, he's not getting enough time to actually make his reads. He gets to the first read, he gets to the second read, and by that second read, somebody's already barreling down on him. He's not comfortable back there, and that's why he's throwing these passes a little bit early, trying to just get it out of his hands and not take a sack, but they're leading their turnovers. 2 so far.
The return goes for 26 yards after the interception, this time by Schuler. So now we have Consall and Schuler, both with an interception for Team Underrated. They'll have the ball at their own 43. Wren's back in at the quarterback position for Team Underrated. He's got the one touchdown pass, the only score in this game. Snaps his hands, throws in the middle, tipped, incomplete. Off the hands of Malik Davis, the intended receiver, in the middle of the field at the Exposure 45-yard line.
There's a lot of barking going on in this game right now. Both of these defenses are able to actually control the line of scrimmage.
Notice some area football coaches at the college level in attendance here today, watching and possibly scouting just a little bit. At halftime, we're hoping to have Chris Blanton of Postgrad Recruits come up and join us for a halftime interview to talk about this format. 2nd and 10 coming up after the incompletion to Davis. 3 wideouts left, 1 right. Snap of the hands and a delay. Draw play, and the running back's not going to get anywhere. Going to Johnson again, and he may have gotten to the 45. They'll give him forward progress for a couple of yards, but that is all. And 3rd and 8 now coming up for Underrated. Good tackle over there on the right side. Looked like Kevontae Thomason, the defensive lineman, able to make the stop on Johnson. They put Brookins back in. He is in the middle on that defensive line. And outside of him is Jalen Dobie Clark on the left side of the defensive line. 2 wideouts to either side. Looks like Dobie Clark, hand up, might be coming. They're going to blitz a linebacker too. Wren over the top, screen pass, incomplete. Intended for Wayne Allen, went right through his hands as he looked upfield and tried to run before he secured the football. So that's going to bring up 4th down and 8. And looks like the punt's coming for Team Underrated. This time, they don't go with Thompson. They actually go with Zach Wren, the quarterback. The Phoenix, Arizona native is going to try his hand at punting the football. Snap's coming from the 45. Snap to him, turns the football, and lets it go. Whoa, where's he been?
Oh, we needed that.
Catch made at the 12-yard line by Willie Brown, but a nice punt there by the quarterback, Wren. Had nice hang time. The punt goes for 30, make it 43 yards. So the worst field position of the game, actually check that. No, one other time, Team Exposure had to start inside their own 10-yard line. So this is their second starting field position, second worst starting field position with 5:45 to go before halftime. Exposure looking for some points. The only scoring play, Underrated, had a 75-yard touchdown pass on the first play of the game. 6-0 Underrated. Handoff, right side, through the line, second level, and able to get up for a nice gain is Jordan McInnes of Greensboro, North Carolina. Myrtle Beach Collegiate was his post-grad school.
Interesting. I'm learning about all these new post-grad schools. There's a lot of them that are just popping up because of the success that some have had, such as IMG.
Went to North Guilford High. Sets him up after the 5-yard gain for 2nd and 5. Under center. and a whistle that blows everything dead. Somebody jumped on that Exposure offensive line. That's going to take away the 5 yards that McInnes worked so hard for on the first play and take them back to 2nd and 10. So they'll huddle up again and wait for the play call. McInnes listed 5'10", 190. He may have put on some pounds and all muscle too. He looks a bit bigger than that. So under center again is Palmer. Snap, turn around, hand it to McInnes. He'll get off the left edge. Big yards, big gainer. 35-40 and pulled down by his jersey as he got close to midfield. They'll say he stepped out at the 48-yard line, and that is a monster gain of 33 yards.
Fantastic run there by that young man. Was able to get to the sideline.
36 yards, pardon me, I'm sorry.
That side of the field, that left side, running that side and behind that left tackle, I think they found something, Jim. I think they've found a little something that they can rely on.
Back to the shotgun now for Palmer. 2 wideouts either way. In motion. They're going to do the jet sweep again, almost fumbling the football, but able to get up and pick up about a yard to the 49 is the receiver, Tayon Kane. Little touch pass. They've run that twice now as Kane comes in motion. The little jet sweep to the right side. Little touch pass. And a gain of 1 to the 49-yard line. Second and 9 coming up after the jet sweep only netted 1. Nearing halftime, 3:15 to go and counting in the 2022 Post-Grad Recruits Post-Grad Football All-Star Game. I got to take a deep breath before I get all that out.
It's a lot to say, Jim.
This is the appetizer before the main course. I'll tell you what I'm talking about in just a moment. Palmer shotgun again. McInnes with him, right side. And fakes the handoff, now throws, slant, complete at the 45, and getting up across the 40-yard line to the 39 in underrated territory. Making the catch was Dalton Yarrick, 6 foot, 160-pounder, able to make a nice catch and get the first down. And we've seen Exposure here before. This is normally where the drives start to stall out.
Yeah, once they get past the 50, we see that Team Underrated's defense starts to shore up, not let anybody get a first down afterwards. Not many first downs after they get past the 50.
And Palmer now trying to get everybody on the field. Makes his count and ready to go. Turnaround, handoff, right side, fighting for a couple of yards. I believe that's McInnes over that right side. Actually, no, this time, is it McInnes? That time they went to a different running back. Osmanis Aguilera, who's listed as a linebacker, actually got a carry that time. Able to get it to the 38-yard line, maybe just beyond. Give him a full 3. It's a second and a long 7. And now the running back coming in is toll-free again. Trip formation over to the left side as Kane, Fjeldsev, and Yarrick are in a triangle over on that left side. Looking right, though, and quickly throwing complete to Brown. Brown down the sideline, finally knocked out at the 22. Coming over and recovering to make the tackle is Sean Maxwell for Underrated, but not before Brown's catch will move the sticks again and a first down. And we're right now at 1:05 to go, clock counting. Exposure has to do something quickly if they want to get into the end zone.
I'm not sure if they're aware that the clock still runs even when you go out of bounds here in this All-Star game.
They're taking their time getting to the line of scrimmage, 45 seconds remaining. And Palmer, a long time before the count. Now he has to scramble out of the pocket, and he's brought down from behind. Able to come down from behind and get him is C.J. Sheets, the linebacker out of Lake Mary, Florida. 6'2", 220-pounder. And a timeout called with 33.9 seconds remaining as the football goes back to the 26-yard line. A loss of 4 on the play.
I would have liked to see that timeout actually taken after the last first down to see if they could get set and run more efficient plays. Now, 33 seconds, you only have a couple of shots into the end zone before this is halftime.
So a very short timeout here as they just used it to stop the clock. Now getting their play call correct. Halftime, we're hoping to have Chris Blanton of Post-Grad Recruits join us to talk about this event. And I mentioned this is the appetizer before the main course. It's the 2022 Post-Grad National Championship coming up at 6 p.m. this evening. We'll be right here as it'll be Flight Academy out of Dayton, Ohio, taking on IMG Academy from Bradenton, Florida. And we're ready to go now with 33.9 seconds remaining. Palmer in the shotgun, 2nd and 14. That's immaterial, really, with the time left. Now having to scramble off to the right side. Throws, middle of the field, caught and then dropped at the 18-yard line. Sliding down almost with the catch was Richard Winston. He had found the soft spot underneath the defensive backs over on the right side, not able to make the catch. So 3rd and 14, but 25.8 seconds remaining with the incompletion. The clock did stop.
Got to see team exposure and max protect here to get the ball down the field. The only reason why exposure hasn't had longer plays is because their offensive line isn't holding up the 5 seconds that's necessary for that 40-yard route or that 30-yard button hook.
They bring Tollfree out and put in Javion Brookins. And Brookins is a 5'7", 240-pounder. Looks more like an offensive lineman out there in the backfield on the left hip of Palmer. Clap of the hands, shotgun snap, looking deep, middle of the field, picked off and dropped. Coming across underneath.
Oh, no, what we got going on? Little
flag has been thrown, I should say.
Laundry all over the field.
The intended receiver down at the 5-yard line was Richard Winston. Almost with the pickoff for his 2nd of the day was Aiden Consol. And then, as Spence mentioned, pushing and shoving after the play back near the line of scrimmage at the 30-yard line.
It's a brouhaha.
And the flag was thrown by the center judge. I think it's going to be a personal foul. It's a dead ball, personal foul against exposure. So any chance, well, they're going to call it both ways. So offsetting penalties.
Well, it stops the clock, which is good.
That's exactly right if you're an exposure fan. 20.8 seconds remaining. So offsetting penalties of personal fouls called on the play. Dead ball after the play was over. It brings up 4th and 14 from the 26-yard line of Underrated. Underrated leads 6-0. They'll leave Brookins in there as the running back. Probably in there more for blocking purposes than anything else. And Palmer will look at 4th and 14 with just over 20 seconds remaining in the half. Away and sacked. Tried to get away from the pressure, not able to do it. As coming in to make the sack for Team Underrated was Anjani Jacobs.
That may do it, Jim. Oh, wait, timeout.
Well, with the change of possession.
That was
clock
fourth
stopped.
Down. 4th down.
13.1 seconds remaining in the half. So Underrated will have a shot here. Do you take your shot up 6-0, or do you just kneel down and go into the locker room happy at halftime?
I think you have to be happy with what you've seen so far. Not necessarily happy with not being able to move the ball, but getting up early and getting on top of this team exposure team, I think that was the right move from the beginning.
75-yard touchdown pass from Zach Wren. That's the only score that we've had in this game, and it came on the first play of the game. So Wren in now again.
Oh, wait.
Waits for the snap. He's in the shotgun. Going to take a shot. Pressured. Steps up. Runs over to the right side. Throws underneath. Complete to Young. Young across midfield. Stepping out of bounds. And that will stop the clock with 1.6 seconds remaining.
But just to move the change, and then it should start again unless a timeout is taken.
And I'm not sure they have one left. The scoreboard says
1.6.
One timeout left, so I guess they do.
Maybe they've taken it.
So 1.6 seconds remaining. The ball at the 47-yard line. Nice gain by Young after he caught that ball underneath everybody. And it looks like maybe a Hail Mary coming up here for Zach Wren. Can he get it to the end zone?
Show off your arm, young man.
3 wideouts to the right, 1 to the left. In motion is 1 receiver from the right to the left. Timeout. They didn't like something they saw, so they used their last timeout of the half.
Got to get it right on this one. You know, there's not going to be another play. You might as well burn it now. Checked out what the defense was giving you.
Can't take them home and put them on the mantle, can you?
You can't. I expect max protect here by Team Underrated. Maybe you put another linebacker or something like Team Exposure did. Put a linebacker, a big guy in the back, be able to pick up the blitz, give you enough time, give your receivers enough time to get close to the end zone before you let it go.
And if I'm Exposure, I send about 5 defensive backs to the 10-yard line.
Well, it was interesting because that's not what they were showing. You know, you want actually people
which
standing
probably
on that
caused the timeout.
5 or 10-yard line, you know, if your team Exposure, and that's not what they were giving the offense at the time, and that's really interesting. You at least want to be in prevent, if not have, you know, cover 3 deep with guys standing on the 10 to 5-yard line here.
6-0 Underrated. They have the last play of the half coming up here. They keep that. Actually, they lose the running back. 3 wideouts to the right, 2 to the left. Empty backfield for Wren. Can he get time to step up and throw? And he will, and I think he may have been across the line, but he'll throw it anyway, and it's intercepted down at the goal line as he did get it to the end zone. Good arm by Wren, but picked off by Nigel Davis. First interception of the day for Team Exposure, and that will end the half.
I think his foot was right behind the line, which made that a legal pass, Jim.
So we go to the halftime break, and the score is 6-0 Underrated. And we'll come back and get our halftime festivities started here from Daytona. Don't forget that big championship game coming up tonight between IMG and Flight, and we'll have it for you. This is the 2022 Post-Grad Recruits Post-Grad Football All-Star Game on Sports Radio America.
Whether it's absolute silence or lo-fi beats, you have a work style all your own. And that's
the defensive backs coach. For Team Underrated, their head coach is DeJuan Harris. The offensive coordinator is Ake Allen. He's also the quarterback's coach. Cortez Chappell is the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. Tara Sneed is the O-line coach. Kadarius Cross is the defensive backs coach. Kyle Providence, the wide receivers coach, and Brandon Irvin, the defensive line coach. So those are your coaching staffs. Wanted to give them a little credit, so we didn't have that information at the beginning of the game. Our score is 6-0. The only score of the game on the first play of the game, a 75-yard touchdown pass from Ren Davis, the quarterback of Team Underrated. And the two-point conversion was no good. That's our score. We had 3 interceptions in the first half, 2 by Team Underrated, as one of those was by Aiden Consol out of Hilton, New York. The other by Barryon Schuler out of Oklahoma Wildcats Prep. Exposure had an interception, but it was right at the end of the half on a Hail Mary thrown by Team Underrated from the 50-yard line, and the interception was made by Nigel Davis out of Augusta United Post-Grad School. He is a Georgia native. So that's a rundown of what this game had. And, Spence, this was a defensive game all the way through the first half after that first play. I mean, neither offense could really find a rhythm.
A real defensive battle, and it seemed like Team Underrated had this bend but don't break type offense. Once Exposure gets past the 50, everything started to kind of close in on them, and the linebackers, the safeties, everybody started picking up their game, and that's where those interceptions came from. A lot of pressure once they passed the 50.
So that's how the first half breaks down. It won't be long. I don't think halftime is going to be but about 15 minutes. So we were efforting Chris Blanton. Not sure if he's going to be able to make it up for a halftime interview. We'll take a break here and see if he's able to come up. If not, we'll get you set for the start of the second half momentarily. As it's 6-0, Team Underrated over Team Exposure. You're listening to the 2022 Post-Grad Recruits Post-Grad Football All-Star Bowl Game from Daytona, Florida on Sports Radio America. Flight Academy out of Dayton, Ohio, will take on IMG Academy out of Bradenton, Florida. This is the first year that IMG has fielded a post-grad team, but well known for their varsity high school program in both football and basketball.
That's right.
And just a juggernaut down here in Florida as far as talent goes. And started a post-grad team this year, having success, able to make it to the championship game after a big win last week, 44-13. And then taking on Flight Academy, who won their conference final over the defending national champion from last year in Liberty Prep. They were able to get through 4 inches of snow on the ground up there in Ohio and win 13-0 in a offensive game in which offense was hard to come by in all that weather, but still able to make it to the championship game. And then both teams get to play on this field later on today for a national championship at the post-grad level. And
it sounded like there was a offensive snow fight.
Am I catching the ball or a snowball?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Offensive snow fight in that championship.
But it should be a great game. Both teams, as I looked at the rosters and got ready for this game, they have great size. They have good skilled positions. Yeah. Quarterbacks look amazing, can throw the football, can run. They're both dual-threat guys. So it'll be interesting to see how that game goes later on. What's the game plan between those two teams as we see them go head-to-head against each other to take it all home this year?
Yeah, Jim, I'm really excited with post-grad national championship because, like I said, as college football kind of moves, you're going to see a lot more gray shirting. We were talking about this last night. And basically what that means is somebody, going, hey, we want you, but we don't want you to use your eligibility right now. Go play for this program right now because we have to take care of this NIL deal with this guy that we just got. Go play for this, this post-grad position right now, and we'll definitely get you on the roster next week or next year. And
it used to be that those players, they didn't really have anything. If they were going to gray shirt, they basically were out from the beginning of the school year till January, and now they have options that they can go and hone their craft a little bit. We do have Chris Blanton of Post-Grad Recruits joining us in the booth here to talk a little bit about this as we have a couple minutes here before the start of the second half. But Chris, and we'll talk a little bit more about this event, the All-Star Game, but the post-grad programs themselves across the country really starting to come into prominence as a tool for athletes at the next level to kind of utilize and be ready for that collegiate level once it finally arrives.
Right. So actually we were just talking on the field about how, a lot of college coaches are starting to look towards the post-grads more. JUCO was hot. Now the transfer portal has opened up. And with guys jumping in the portal December, I need a guy now. I need a guy January. Right. And most guys that's going to JUCO, and I don't want to say most guys, but a lot of guys that are going to the junior college route are trying to get their grades right or need a little bit more time. So that's a year, 2 years. Right. I don't have that time,
Gotcha.
So I want older guys. If he's a 2-year, JUCO guy, I want him now. But if I can go get an 18-year-old who hasn't lost any eligibility,
right,
I want that kid,
who was playing football last month.
Right, exactly, last month. So he comes in January, he's already in shape, at least decent enough shape where he jumps right in and he's gone. He's on the go.
Yeah. All he's got to get down at that point is academics, and the post-grad programs, they themselves are helping them in the academic sense.
That's it. For instance, Kevin Larkins Jr., he played in the game last year. He's an alumni, post-grad kid, went to Livingston College this last season, considered a true freshman, 9 interceptions.
Right.
Nice.
Like, who doesn't want a freshman who can have 9 interceptions,
That's right.
In the season? Now, he's a highly, quality DB.
Yeah.
And, he actually, I believe, has entered the portal, and colleges are all over him.
Yeah.
And what a year Livingston had. I mean, just unbelievable.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's a big deal now, and it's growing. It's still, people are still trying to figure it out and figure out the, ins and outs of it. But it's definitely a level that's making its mark and starting to be, very dominant in this game of recruiting.
Chris Blanton has joined us here in the press box today as we are in the halftime of the All Star Game. His site is Post-Grad Recruits. Tell us a little bit about the site, Chris.
So Post-Grad Recruits is a platform for exposure. It gives the guys exposure. We have an app now that we have created, and it's pretty much everything a coach needs to recruit. Height, weight, film, GPS. Guys can even upload their transcripts. So if a coach wants to, see a kid and recruit them from afar, he can do that and get everything he needs from that kid. All right, now come on a visit. Okay. I got all the information I needed. Come for a visit. As you can see, there's a few colleges here: Livingston College, Florida Memorial, Allen University came to practice. So they're coming out because they get on the app, they see these guys. I send them the rosters, and they like what they see. So now they want to say, okay, let me come in person. And we designed this game to be around this period because it's contact period.
Right.
And now, now it's an open game. They can come and talk to the players. Absolutely. They can evaluate the players. So it's the perfect time for these guys before early signing day.
It's an all-in-one stop, and you've got a player that's coming fresh off experience. He can get into your program in January, and boom, you're off and running. Yeah,
absolutely.
I completely get it.
Absolutely.
Did you figure out who number one was for us over there?
You know what? Everyone's asking me that. I'm still looking for the coaches are asking for who's number one, man.
Yeah.
We're still. He's a guy. So
he caught the touchdown.
Exactly. So with this thing, man, guys come in and out because guys that we want, we want the elite. So we get guys, and up to a week from the game, Coach, I got an offer from South Carolina State.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's no point in you coming here.
Right.
Right. So I'm gonna find out who that number one is because a lot of people are asking me about him.
As you and I were talking in the weeks leading up, you were like, I'm going to get you in on the spreadsheet. This roster's going to be fluid.
Yep. Exactly.
It is definitely a fluid situation.
Exactly. And it's changed many times, but we want that. That's what we want. We want it to change because that means we're doing our job and we're getting guys the exposure they need.
That's right.
So that they can, be successful.
I'd like to talk to you just a second here, if you'll stay with us here for the first part of the second half.
Sure.
As we're almost ready to get underway, and Exposure will take the football first. But Zach Rim, the quarterback for Underrated, out of Phoenix, Arizona, goes to Prestige Worldwide Academy. Young man looks like he's got some tools.
Man, does he?
He
throws some good balls, man. He puts them on point.
Uh-huh.
The kid, he has a trainer. I know his trainer contacted me and said, hey, is everything good for the game? I said, yes. He said, well, we'll be there.
Okay.
So we were excited to hear that.
Very impressive in the first half. We'll see Palmer, Davion Palmer, the 6'2", 180-pounder. He'll be the starting quarterback on offense here in the second half to start, and the snap goes over Palmer's head. He can't fall on it, and it's a turnover. It'll go to Underrated as they're able to fall on the football at the 4-yard line. Making the fumble recovery for Underrated is C.J. Sheets, the big linebacker, as he sprinted in there after Palmer couldn't fall on the football. And that, Chris, that's just these players are not used to each other. They haven't practiced enough together, and the snap from the center just wasn't on the same page with Palmer.
Right. We had 2 practices Saturday, 9 a.m.
All right.
To about 11, and then 2 o'clock to about 5:30. So these guys come in like rookie mini camp. That's Jake Allen, one of our coaches, he's on team Underrated actually. He said this is rookie mini camp, so you got to get it fast. And these coaches don't play around. A lot of both head coaches played in NFL. Storm Johnson played in for Jacksonville Jaguars for some time. So because of that, these guys try to train them in that way.
And they get a crash course, too.
A crash course.
Very quick. 4-yard line. 1st and 10 after the turnover. Handoff goes to the running back. He'll get to the 3, maybe the 2, as that time they hand off to Andrew Gordon, who was the second running back to play in the first half. He gets the start here in the second. Looks like they're going to give him the 3, so a yard pickup. It'll be 2nd and goal now for Wren.
Yeah, Jim, like we were talking about that, you don't get a lot of time in these All-Star games. We do a lot of these All-Star games, and the practices that you get in, that relationship between the center and the quarterback is so important. everybody thinks it's, automatic, but it's so important to get down the timing, the snap, and everything else.
And actually, it's not Wren in there now. It's Hockey, the second quarterback we saw in the first half.
Yes.
Hockey will start. He'll hand it off again, right side. This time, they're not going to let Gordon have much room. He stacked up as he got to the right edge of the line and driven back. They'll give him the 4-yard line, so he loses a yard back to the 4. Coming out of there with the football for Team Exposure was the big linebacker, Osmanis Aguilera, but the whistle had already blown, so it'll be 3rd down and goal from the 4. Chris, these guys, you mentioned the colleges that are in attendance, they're not playing around. They're giving it full out. This is not all-star game-like effort. This is mid-season-like effort out here.
Exactly, and that's what we want, man. These guys have something to prove, and they're trying to prove it. We talked to them at the gala last night, and we try to just speak life into them, and I think they came alive today, for sure.
Out to the wide right for Underrated is Allen. 2 wideouts to the left and a penalty flag coming in. Somebody jumped up there on that offensive line, and that's going to make it a little bit more difficult as they'll back it up 5 to the 9-yard line and make it 3rd down and goal from the 9. And Hockey's job just got a little bit tougher.
Yeah, Team Underrated hasn't really been able to run right efficiently, and I bet one of those linemen kind of jumped. I want to say it was the guard. Kind of jumped because he hasn't been getting a good block. He hasn't been getting good contact on his man to be able to hold him there.
I can't imagine the undertaking it took to get an event like this put together, Chris. Yeah. You are a brave man.
Man, I'm tired. I'll tell you that
I tell you what, you look as tired as I do, man.
I am definitely tired, man. Each kid is handpicked, man. Yeah. So looking at this film, and then I asked the coaches for opinions, so they also helped with their opinions as well.
Here's the snap on 3rd and goal. They're going to give a handoff over to the left side to Malik Davis, and he'll make his way into the end zone for a touchdown. And Underrated will go up 2 scores on the board.
And that is why there was that jump, because he was trying to get – they've been having a hard time running right. He was trying to get contact in his man and seal him. If you can't get that seal, you can't run off tackle like that, and he finally actually did it. So, you got the kickout block with the tackle, but the guard was trying to get that seal, and that's why he was jumping. And he finally got that seal. They were able to run off tackle, and that's why that play was successful.
And that's going to be now a 2-point conversion coming up for Underrated as they go up 12-0. Snap went over the head of the quarterback for Team Exposure, recovered at the 4-yard line, took Underrated a couple of plays to get things situated, even a false start penalty, but they make it in on a 9-yard touchdown run by Malik Davis.
Man, I must tell you, I'm very surprised with Team Underrated and proud of them. Yeah. We put their O-line pretty much together yesterday. so
that's fantastic.
Hockey on the 2-point conversion. Snap going to throw, steps up in the pocket, and he'll go down. He's sacked back at the 10-yard line. Coming up again is Aiden Morgan. Morgan's made a couple of sacks in this game, and Exposure will get the football back. Now down 12-0 with 12:01 to go in the 3rd period.
Chris, if you put that offensive line together, that's not bad. A lot of guys working together, especially that center and the guards, trying to work together last minute like that and hold the line, man. That's impressive. That's impressive because you never really – the footwork alone is impressive, especially at this level.
Right, and that just shows how much talent these guys have, man. Number 50, actually, we got him yesterday.
Wow.
He came in yesterday, Derwin Black, and he's picking up a lot of interest from the coaches down there.
Well, at 6'6", 285, I can see why. He is a mountain of a young man.
Exactly.
So Exposure will take over 25-yard line their end of the field. And man in motion. And a handoff, cutting back to the middle, and running room is there for Jordan McInnes. He's going to make it all the way across midfield, all the way down to the 43, make it the 44-yard line. Knee down there in Underrated territory. Big running play for Jordan McInnes on the first play from scrimmage. He'll journey down the field for 36 yards.
Underrated's defense has been pretty sound internally. They've not been sound out on the outside, but that was the first big play up the middle for Team Underrated.
I mean, these coaches did a good job, man. They handpicked. So we did a draft, man. It took us about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We drafted most of these guys, the ones that were there from the beginning that were picked, and they've hey, they put on a good game. We wanted to be equal, and
Yeah.
so far it's a pretty good and equal game. It's just
solid.
So I like what I'm seeing.
The handoff that time and cut down in the backfield. I think they went to Brown. Make sure he's got his jersey pulled up there a little bit, but I think they went to Brown on a little outside handoff, and coming up to make the tackle was Dawson Thompson. Thompson's made a couple of plays here. How many schools now are there on the post-grad level,
Man,
Chris, that you guys can pick from?
Listen,
they keep popping up, man.
They keep popping up, man. They'll keep popping up.
Snap to Palmer, across the middle throw. Made the catch at the 37-yard line. Nice catch before he's hauled down by the shoulder pads. Dalton Yarrick able to make the catch as he come across the middle. And an 8-yard gain, actually going to spot it real close to the 35-yard line. Only about a yard and a half to go for a first down here for Exposure. And they're moving the football, but again, Spence, this is where they tend to stall out on each drive in the first half. Palmer slaps his hands, high snap, pulls it down. Handoff is going to go to Tollfree, and he's stacked up. White jerseys everywhere to stop Tollfree. Couldn't get started on that one. He'll lose about 3 all the way back to the 38-yard line, and it'll be 4th down for Exposure. And it looks like 4th and 4. I mean, we see the rosters and states all the way across the country, Florida, Mississippi.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys must
Norway.
have.
We have a receiver from Norway.
Yeah. I talked to Frederick Fjeldseth. Yep. I talked to Fjeldseth before the game. Nice young man, and he's got some tools too.
He does, man. And we talked a little bit during practice, and he's still learning how to, get the competitiveness of the game in America, you know, coming from overseas.
Good speed. Here's Palmer on 4th and 4, going to throw over to the sideline, too far outside of the range of the receiver, Tayon Kane. Falls incomplete at the 32-yard line. Would have been a first down as Kane had made a nice little cut at the hash to get toward the sideline, but Palmer just not accurate with that one, a little bit too far outside for Kane to be able to pull it in, and that's a turnover on downs. It'll be underrated once again, and they'll start at their own 38-yard line.
You know, Jim, I'm going to have to check the stats, but I think that team underrated once the other squad gets past the 50-yard line. I think they've only given up 3 first downs.
I think you're right. Yeah.
That's solid.
That's solid.
Woo.
There's a solid defense on that side.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, both sides are pretty solid. It's just mistakes hurting team Exposure right now.
So, Chris, if a coach might be watching this game, wants to know more about post-grad recruits, they just go to the website?
Yeah, they can go to post-grad recruits. They can go to the app on their iPhone store or the Android store, or they can go to the website, postgradrecruits.com. And also we have a Twitter at postgradrecruit. They can check that out. We do put a lot of content on there.
Okay.
So they can look at that, and they can see a lot of the guys on there. We have their heights and weights on there and things of that nature, and the rosters are also on there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to become more and more popular as NIL takes over, as you have the transfer portal with players leaving almost on a daily basis.
All the time.
Instantly. Colorado's quarterback just jumped instantly.
Jumps in the portal. Yeah.
2nd and 5 after a 5-yard run by Davis, and he'll get it again. Right edge. Can he get the edge? Not very much. No, he's knocked down. Forward progress. They may give him to the 45. A pickup of 2 for Davis. Getting over there on the outside to help out with the tackle was James Banks, the defensive back, as well as Osmanis Aguilera. Aguilera, we've mentioned his name a couple of different times.
Yeah.
He's got some tools.
Yes, definitely. Man, he's actually plays running back as well. He played running back in high school, so he's definitely an athlete and can move very well. He went to a post-grad Georgia Storm up in Georgia.
Okay.
He's out of Tampa Bay. Went to Tampa Bay Technical High School.
Okay. That's where I stay now.
Oh,
in Tampa Bay. Yep.
3rd and 3 for Team Underrated, as they once again on defense stopped Team Exposure once they got into underrated territory. 7:25 to go in the third, and Underrated leading 12-0. Back to throw is Hockey. He'll throw middle of the field. The pass was tipped at the line of scrimmage. Coming in on pressure was Brian Edwards, the defensive lineman out of Baltimore. 6'4", 245, able to get a big paw on that one and knock it down. It'll bring up 4th and 3. And I believe Underrated might go for this, especially up 2 scores.
Brian Edwards actually has a good amount of looks from colleges right now. He wanted to come to this game to prove even more to the colleges that were interested in him that, hey, pull the trigger, come and get me. And I think he's trying to do that today.
Well, you think about and I don't mean anything to demean by this, but small colleges here in Florida, there's a ton of them. There's
a ton of them.
Sun conferences down here. You've got, St. Leo and Southeastern. And,
yeah, right.
I mean, just a ton of the smaller colleges down here, and I can't imagine how they would not be. And we have a penalty flag down, a jump on the offensive line there that started the play, so a false start will put it back a little bit more, and I think now the decision will be made that they'll punt the football here, Underrated will, and try to pin Exposure back.
That's probably the right move here. You don't want – Team Underrated has played this game honestly better than I thought they were going to do. Team Exposure, sideline to sideline defensively,
right.
They are solid. And, the opportunities that Underrated has had, they've capitalized on them. But, I mean, there are very few snaps where Team Exposure isn't locking them down.
So Wren back to punt the football for Team Underrated. He gets the football. Had a great punt his last one. This one a little shorter. Coming up, taking it on the run at the 33. See where they spot him. I think 33-34 is where he's going to be. But fielding that was Willie Brown, and he'll be able to give him the 35-yard line there to start the next drive for Exposure. You got to think with 7 minutes to go here in the third, they got to get one that gets farther than the 30-yard line on the other end. Got to get something going here. You mentioned Florida Memorial just down the road a little bit, just starting their program. This has to be a dream come true for a school like that.
I actually believe Willie Brown is one that they're here to look at, and I'm not mistaken. I believe they caught him. I think he's a catch for them. So that's great, for him and for them to be able to see him. They saw him on Twitter. They saw his film and things of that nature. Been recruiting him. So it's good for them to be able to see him in person.
In motion goes the wide receiver Kane. They give him the jet sweep, and he's going to be dropped for a yard loss back to the 34-yard line. Some good speed by this Underrated team in the secondary. They're able to get sideline to sideline pretty easily.
Man, there's speed all over the field right now, man. The receivers, in practice, man, the receivers were killing the DBs. We thought the DBs would be in trouble, but they're holding on. Game time, the lights are on, so now they're showing up and showing out. So I'm glad to see them come to play because these receivers were smoking them in practice, but not today, not right now.
Palmer's got McInnes in the backfield with him and 2 wideouts to either side. No tight end into the game right now. And the snap, quick throw over to the left, and the catch is made by Brown. Brown struggling to get upfield, and a flag coming in very late after the play is over. But Brown makes the catch for 15 yards up and make it 16 to the 50-yard line. It will be a first down, and there may be more tacked on to the end of this.
Personal foul. Looks like I'm not sure if they grabbed him by the face mask, but they made the signal that it's a personal foul.
And that'll give them the 35 if that's true. And they do seem to be moving down the field, and it is a personal foul against Underrated. So the 35-yard line ends up being a 31-yard play on the catch by Brown. But right as we talk about him, he kind of shows up there, slant pattern, nice speed, got away from a guy. But very nice catch by Brown.
He's been making plays all day, man. I mean, the kid is just dynamic. He's a dynamic receiver.
High snap, going to throw it out to Brown again to the left side and trying to tightrope the sideline, not able to get away from the last defensive back over there that could stop him. Making the tackle for Team Underrated on the sideline was, I believe that might be Trent. No, and check that, it's Kalen Purter. Purter, a 5'10", 180-pounder out of Lakewood, South Carolina, played at Palmetto Prep. But there are some, Chris, big-name post-grad schools that are established. I mean,
Yeah, there are.
this is the first year for IMG, but everybody has heard of IMG. I mean,
of course.
just some really big names.
And this is the first year for Flight Academy as well.
It is. It is their first year.
There
So
you go.
it's going to be a good one there.
First down from the 25. High snap, but Palmer's able to take it. Going to throw over to the sideline. Intercepted at the 19-yard line. Making the interception. It's the third of the game for team underrated Jamarion Richardson out of Paulding County, Georgia. Played for Georgia Storm Prep, 6'1", 190-pounder. And a big interception there to stop another drive. Seems the secondary's coming up big all afternoon for team underrated with 4:56 to go in the third period. Underrated leads 12-0.
Jamarian got both feet in bounds. Not one, both. that was an NFL interception and good any Sunday.
You know, I see exposure. They look a little down right now, but it's still a lot of football left for them to be able to come back.
Lots of football. Like you were saying, you know, there's a difference between game speed and practice, and you're starting to see these DBs get to the spot that they need to be a lot quicker than they probably were in practice.
So 4:56 to go in the third. We're going to release Chris here in just a minute so he can get me number one's name before this game is over with.
For sure.
Make sure that touchdown's credited right. And Wren back in at quarterback for underrated. Rolls out to his right, getting pressure, throws, threw it away just to save the football, save the sack. Good decision by Wren as really nobody opened down the field. And it'll be second down and 10 from the 20-yard line now. That's where they say Richardson stepped out of bounds when he intercepted the ball a moment ago. Chris, we do appreciate your time. I know you're pulled about 18 different directions today.
Hey, I like it being up here, man. I can hide from everyone.
If you ever need to hide, man, come up over where we are.
I appreciate you guys, man.
You're always welcome to come up, man. Appreciate your time. And a great event, too, so appreciate it as he will go down and get us the name of number one in white before this game is over with. Second and 10 coming up for underrated. The stadium, Daytona Stadium, Larry Kelly Field, the name of the facilities. And the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman, this is their home stadium. Timeout called. It looked like there was one extra player on the field for team underrated, and they had to call a timeout to avoid the illegal substitution penalty. So let's take that, too. We'll take a 1-minute timeout and come back. This is the 2022 Post-Grad Recruits Post-Grad Football All-Star Game on Sports Radio America.
Canyon University. Visit gcu.edu.
What's my bright reason for choosing Bright Health? The $0 copay plan I chose means my husband has zero excuses not to go to the doctor. Bright Health, for all the bright reasons. See what you can save with their surprisingly low rates at brighthealthplan.com.
This is Shaquille O'Neal. You know Shaq, Shaq Diesel, Superman, Big Aristotle, Big Cactus, Big Shamrock. If you're not listening to Sports Radio America, play Shaq Fu.
On second and 10, underrated a running play to the outside. Able to pick up 1 yard on the run by Wayne Allen. 6'1", 185-pounder out of Hodgson Vocational Tech High School in Delaware. Played his post-grad year at Showtime Prep in Maryland. A 1-yard pickup will make it 3rd and 9, but we have an injured player on the field. And I believe it's the big offensive lineman we were just talking about, Derwin Black, 6'6", 285-pounder out of Florida Central Tech post-grad school. And he is down with the helmet off. And you hate to see any type of injury during a all-star type format, but
in a situation like this, you're out here trying to get exposure, trying to get a couple of looks, and this is probably the worst-case scenario for that situation. Looks like cramps, though.
Yeah, I was just saying they look like they're stretching him out for a cramp. So.
And that makes sense, you know.
Not on the field today, I would assume. That crushed rubber inside that artificial turf probably makes this about a 10-degree higher temperature on the field than it is as you would just be normally out and about.
Additionally, there was some rain, and that rain kind of coming – I mean, this is already a humid environment down here in Florida, but that rain, coming off, is probably hard to sweat. He's probably not, he's probably in a situation where he's cramping up. And, he was a late addition, so that may be something, getting your body in shape for a game like this is something that, you actually have to take a couple of days in order to hydrate your body for competition at this level.
He is a mountain at 6'6", 285.
Monster.
I mean, just stands so tall above everyone here. And hope that he's okay. He's going off in his own power, and it does look like a cramp limp.
Yeah.
I recognize that from the middle of the night when I get a Charlie horse. So 3rd and 9 coming up for Team Underrated. Black able to get off the field. And Wren looking at 3rd and 9 from his own 21. Looks like pressure is going to be coming from Team Exposure. Low snap picked up. Wren slant pattern. Receiver wasn't even looking. As that inside receiver number 1 was not looking for the football, and that will bring up 4th and 9 from their own 21, and I think
that was a throwaway.
You may see Underrated punt the football, and now a penalty?
Uh-oh.
Did I see a penalty flag? No. They're placing the football. I thought the official was saying a penalty, but no flag down. And with 4:09 to go in the third, the punt team comes on for Underrated. Now, if you're wondering why there's no line and no defenders other than a return man in this all-star format, there's no pressure on a punt. He's able to just kick the football, and the return man's able to make a fair catch, and that's the end of the play. Looks like Black's making some runs up the sideline. Here is a punt taken at the 48-yard line by Brown.
Jim, it's interesting the punting situation here because that may be from the future. I mean, as we look at player safety moving forward and how to make this game safer, that may be a way to actually do it. I mean, I'd hate to see, punt returners not have the opportunity to take one back. But that's a game, that's a play that a lot of people get injured on.
I'm with you.
We've seen people, we've seen changes to the kickoffs, but punt returns and punting formation, that looks like it's really good for player safety.
27-yard punt by Wren, and now Exposure takes over. High snap, handoff, left side, able to escape a tackle is the running back McInnes and get positive yards. He probably should have been stopped back at the line of scrimmage at the 48-yard line as Tyleki Overton, a linebacker, 5'10", 210-pounder out of Augusta United in Georgia, was able to get a hand on him. But McInnes slipped out of that tackle and one more and got up to the 42 for a gain of 6.
Hard-earned yards there. Hard running by that young man.
2nd and 4 now from the 42 of Underrated. This is the 5th drive that Exposure has been in enemy territory, and they still have no points on the board. Pass in the middle of the field, complete to Brown. He's got running room, makes a move, 25-20, down the left side, may make it, he will, touchdown, Exposure.
With a little bit of gritty at the end.
So that pass goes for 42 yards. And now Exposure back in the game.
That bend but don't break philosophy finally broke a couple of good tackles or good blocks. He was able to work off those blocks, break a few tackles himself, get to the end zone.
Palmer started rolling out to the right side, and then all of a sudden just stopped because he saw Brown coming across underneath. The pass itself in the air for maybe 8 yards, and Brown ran for the 35 more it took to get down the field.
The yards after the catch were made possible by 2 key blocks in that secondary. Beautiful. beautiful when you see your receivers and your tight end blocking for you down the field.
12-6 now the score with 2:36 to go in the third. 2-point conversion coming up for Exposure. So Brown looks over to the left side, now the right. Here's Palmer throwing end zone, intercepted. Intercepted on the 2-point conversion. It's another one by Schuler, his second of the day.
Those DBs are feasting on these quarterbacks. As the field gets smaller, it seems as if the DBs get faster. They're using their speed to cut off different angles, to cut off different throwing lanes, and get in front of these balls that these receivers are just not really doing a good job presenting their body for clean passes from these quarterbacks.
I don't know who's looking at Barryon Schuler, but somebody needs to. That young man's having an afternoon, and tell you something. Couple of interceptions, one of them on a 2-point conversion. He's had a few tackles, I think one tackle for loss.
Man, there's a couple of FCS programs that might be interested in that young man.
Sam Houston High School. Looking here on his huddle account out of Houston, Texas. Played for Oklahoma Wildcats Prep. Now 12-6. And with it at their own 25 is underrated. They'll hand off middle of the field. Not a lot of running room there for the running back. Maybe a yard or two. He tried to get around the left tackle and was met by oncoming traffic. Making the tackle was Anthony Fuller, a 6', 220-pound linebacker for Exposure. But the running back for this play, or for that play, was Andrew Gordon, and it looks like he'll stay in there for another.
Really tight game now, Jim. 6-12. Exposure finally, actually getting into the end zone.
After 5 trips in enemy territory, finally getting the pay dirt on the pass to Brown.
And it looks like the sidelines have picked up a little bit as well.
2-yard gain for Gordon on that last carry. It's 2nd and 8. 27-yard line, their own for Wren to start this play. He's got 2 backs in the backfield with him now. As Davis comes back in to be on the left hip. Handoff, middle of the field. It's Gordon. Gordon to the 30. May have edged the football over the 30-yard line, but not by much. And it's going to be 3rd and a long 4 coming up for Team Underrated. My name is Jim Tyree. Along with me is Memphis Spence. Glad to have you along today as we bring you the action of the 2022 Post-Grad Recruits Post-Grad Football All Star Game. Later on this evening, you'll want to stick with us. Or if you're going to take a nap, set your alarm for 6 p.m. Our pregame will start at 5:45. It will be the national championship game for the post-grad level between IMG and Flight Academy. They stay with the 2-back set, does Underrated. Shotgun snap. Wren is going to hand it to Gordon. Around the right side this time, and he's brought down after a gain of just about a yard. That's going to bring up 4th and 3, and will they go for it?
I think we just ran out of time.
And we did. Third quarter has come to a close. Back in a moment for the 4th and final frame of the 2022 Post-Grad Recruits Post-Grad Football All-Star Game on Sports Radio America.
no kidding.
today is over, as we will be back again a little bit later this evening. We're about 3 hours away, a little more than that, 3 hours and change, away from our championship game. It's the 2002 NPGAA Football Championship game. And that comes up, kickoff at 6 p.m. Our pregame will start at 5:45. And we'll go through pregame, talking with coaches, getting you ready for a national championship that'll be played on this very field coming up a little bit later on this evening. So make sure you come back with us. Again, 5:45 pregame coverage. That will end our coverage of the All-Star part of the afternoon. My thanks to Bobby Latmore. My thanks to my partner, Memphis Spence, over here.
Hey.
As we will leave you with the final score once again from Daytona Stadium. It was 12 for Team Underrated and 6 for Team Exposure. Thanks for watching and listening to Sports Radio America.